Hey, we've made it to Friday, July 17th, and this is now on HNN.
We have to open our schools. We have learned one thing very strongly. Young people are in great shape when it comes to the coronavirus.
President Trump threatens to cut funding to schools that do not fully reopen. That's got lawmakers, teachers, parents, all on edge.
I'd be willing to bet that we're going to get cases very quickly showing up among kids in the classrooms.
Plus, what's next in the case against alleged organized crime boss Michael Miske?
This is the first kind where prominent legitimate businesses were used as fronts to cover the illegal activity.
These stories, plus developing news from the Supreme Court. Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg says she's undergoing chemotherapy to treat a recurrence of cancer. Coming up on This Is Now.
There are parts of the country that have a significant degree of viral activity that make you want to pause and say, okay, wait a minute. If we are going to bring the children back to school, we've got to make sure that paramount is safety for the children and safety for the teachers.
The president has slammed the current CDC guidelines as he pushes schools to reopen. And now we've learned that the White House may tie school reopenings to whether they receive millions in funding as part of the next coronavirus relief bill.
When he says open, he means open and full, kids being able to attend each and every day at their school. The science should not stand in the way of this.
Good afternoon. We'll have much more on the reopening of schools in just a moment, but first we want to get to the latest case numbers.
That's right. Hey everyone. Health officials are reporting another patient with COVID-19 has died. We're told Hawaii's latest fatality is an elderly Oahu man who had underlying health conditions. That brings the statewide death toll to 23. There are also 23 new cases being reported today, with the majority of cases on Oahu and some on the Big Island. If the case numbers hold steady, state health officials say they are okay with schools restarting next month. But that could change. And even if classes resume, there may be a teacher shortage. Ben Gutierrez spoke with the head of the teachers union about all the uncertainty.
School Superintendent Christina Kishimoto says they've seen success with social distancing over the summer.
For in-person summer school, we have the data that says it's gone really well. Our teachers that participated said, let's reopen.
But members of the state Senate's COVID committee say they're hearing a different story from teachers.
I don't think a simple face shield, mask, and gloves will fully protect me and my students. However, I'm told this will keep me safe. I do not feel safe.
State Health Director Bruce Anderson says Hawaii has a low enough prevalence of the coronavirus to allow classes to reopen. However,
this isn't a zero situation. I'd be willing to bet that we're going to get cases very quickly showing up among kids in the classrooms.
The DOE has said it will be using smaller class sizes, 6 feet of distancing, and, especially in elementary schools, keeping the same students with the same teacher through the day.
But in the case someone does have it, at that point, does everyone from the class get sent home?
Yes.
Keep this bubble concept where we have classes together most of the day. We can close that class, and we're not going to be closing the entire school or certainly not the whole education system.
Teachers are also telling lawmakers they aren't getting enough training to deal with in-class and distance learning.
They feel, majority of them that's chiming in here, saying the same thing over and over. They need more time. And they said the date that they're giving is after Labor Day.
HSTA President Corey Rosenlee says no one wants to return to school more than teachers, but several feel they shouldn't do so right now.
I'm hearing reports from across the entire state that teachers would rather, miss a year or retire because they just don't feel that it's a safe environment.
The health director also has said the pandemic is still unpredictable and things could change rapidly between now and August 4th. Ben Gutierrez, Hawaii News Now.
We've got to tell you about some news that broke this morning that's a huge blow to the world of surfing. The World Surfing League is canceling this year's World Championship Tour. Guy Hoggy talked to CEO Eric Logan about this morning on Sunrise.
Now, you are the bearer of bad news this morning. Tell us what the WSL is announcing this morning to the world. Well, thank you. It's bad but better. How about that? So we're going to call it a positive announcement. How about that? Yeah, so this morning we made the difficult but obvious decision that we had to cancel the 2020 tour. It became very obvious that the international travel that was required to execute our tour was going to be very compromised with the state of the pandemic. So we canceled the tour, but concurrently announced some exciting new innovations for our 2021 tour and 22 tour going forward.
Yeah, that's right. It's amazing. These are landmark changes. You guys are going to turn the whole tour coming up on its ear. Of course, we're bummed, but we understand about 2020. But tell us about what changes you guys are focusing on.
Well, there's a lot of changes for our friends in Hawaii. Is number one, that we have an opportunity to kick off our tour with the two iconic places for our women in Honolulu Bay and also our men at Pipeline. So we're going to start the 21 tour with the originally scheduled dates this year in 2020. And beginning the tour in Hawaii gives us such a special opportunity to celebrate everything about what surfing means to our partners and our friends and the ohana in Hawaii. So we'll continue the tour, and we'll end the tour with something brand new and truly exciting called the WSL Finals, where over the year we're going to qualify 5 men and 5 women in a new one-day event where they will compete in the water for the World Championship.
All right, that's exciting. Now, how have you guys been coping with the pandemic so far? What about the staff and the crew of WSL? Have you guys had to shelve them and furlough them and all that?
Well, everybody's been working from home, as all of us have. A lot of our crew and a lot of the people who travel with us on the tour are contractors. So they themselves have been impacted just because we're not touring. But one of the things we're doing, Guy, to get back going here, I'm actually at the Surf Ranch in Lemoore, California, where we're speaking today. And this is going to be the site of an event we have on August 9th, a specialty event. And what we're doing is we're trying to find ways with our athletes in country to actually get the jersey back on and get going. So that helps our athletes. It also helps our employees and our contractors. But we've got some events called the WSL Countdown here in the United States. We have a couple in Australia and in France and Portugal.
All right, CEO from the WSL, Eric Logan. Eric, good luck. We are looking forward to the return of pro surfing here in Hawaii and across the world. Thanks for joining us.
Mike Miske pleaded not guilty to charges tied to his alleged organized crime ring. He's facing 17 felony charges, including murder for hire and racketeering, which could carry the death penalty. The government released new details as to why Miske and his crew should remain locked up until trial. Lynn Kawano has the story.
The government calls Michael Miske a crime boss and a grave danger to the community.
New motions filed by the feds detail further the case against the so-called Miske enterprise, allegedly involved in drug trafficking, kidnapping, assault, the use of chemical weapons, and murder. The documents say Miske meticulously planned and premeditated the abduction, kidnapping, and murder of Jonathan Frazier and purchased this $425,000 Boston whaler named the Painkiller to dispose of Frazier's body. The filings say Miske has a habit of trying to obstruct justice, using a phone call from 2015 as an example. Miske contacted Honolulu police officer Jared Spiker, who was trying to arrest him.
You got to be careful for the threats you made, Jared.
Are you threatening me?
No, I'm telling you.
Federal prosecutors say the other defendants also need to remain locked up, claiming they loyally carried out Miske's crime orders, including the suspected use of a toxic liquid thrown onto the dance floor at a rival's nightclub. The feds accuse others of drug dealing in Miske's business, Kama'aina termite, and pest control, and the documents say one of the defendants, a bouncer at his M nightclub, traveled to Los Angeles to buy cocaine from a drug cartel using a suspected corrupt TSA official's help.
The detention hearings for Miske and the others are set for Tuesday. I'm Lynn Kawano, Hawaii News Now.
In a story you'll see only on Hawaii News Now, a man tells us he turned down a $50,000 offer from Miske to kill Jonathan Frazier. After Lindsay Kinney declined, he says Miske's team then tried to kill him.
First shot went right past my head while I was running, and I'm pretty sure I heard 2 other smaller calibers.
Kinney says he narrowly escaped gunfire after being called to Kualoa by a Miske associate in 2017. He says he was on the hit list because he was a loose end. Kinney admits he's no angel, but he regrets not saving Frazier's life.
They tortured him. They tortured him. Like it's a game. When they went offer me that money, what I supposed to do is go to that hospital and grab that boy. I know I could have saved him. That's the only thing I did wrong. That's the only weight I get on my shoulders.
Kinney says Miske also offered him $20,000 to remain silent, but he turned that down as well. Kinney says he wants people to know the truth about what happened, and he wants the right people to be held accountable. We have the latest developments on the Miske enterprise on air and online, and you can always get around-the-clock updates by downloading our Hawaii News Now mobile app.
We've got some more coronavirus news to get to. In Nevada, officials say at least 123 visitors have tested positive in recent weeks. Cases have been rising in Nevada since those casinos reopened back in early June. It's unclear how many visitors have been coming in. Tourism data isn't set to be released till later this month. Across the country, more than 77,000 cases were reported yesterday, according to Johns Hopkins University. For a second day in a row, Tokyo has hit a new high for its daily case count, this time with 293 infections. Japan is the world's third largest economy and the #1 source of international visitors to the state. Japan is the world's third largest economy and the #1 source of international visitors to our state. The outbreak in Brazil has been one of the most severe. Still, the country continues to reopen despite millions of cases. We've got Gwen Baumgartner with more.
2 million cases and rising. Despite the staggering numbers and the second highest death toll in the world, President Jair Bolsonaro insists Brazil continues reopening. He says we can't continue to suffocate the economy. The lack of income and employment kills. It kills more than the virus. The president publicly supports anti-lockdown protests and vetoed a nationwide mask mandate earlier this month. Healthcare workers are criticizing him, saying he continues to downplay the severity of COVID-19 despite testing positive himself.
I think he was the worst thing that we can have in this moment. He is, in fact, irresponsible.
Hospitals in the capital are so inundated, many are forced to turn patients away. Cemeteries are also running out of space. In Sao Paulo, crews exhumed bones to make room for COVID patients. Brazil is dealing with the grim new milestone, a death toll at 75,000 people and rising. Gwen Baumgartner, CBS News.
Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg says she is receiving chemotherapy for a recurrence of cancer, but has no plans to retire from the Supreme Court. The 87-year-old Ginsburg said her treatment so far has succeeded in reducing lesions on her liver and that she will continue chemotherapy sessions every 2 weeks. She spent time in the hospital this week for a possible infection, but said it was unrelated to the cancer. Her departure from the court before the election could give President Trump the chance to shift the court more to the right. As we've told you, Hawaii native and Illinois Senator Tammy Duckworth is on the short list to be Joe Biden's running mate. Our Washington Bureau's Peter Zampa reports on how her Aloha State connection is part of a broad picture that political leaders say makes her well qualified.
We're very proud of her and of the service and sacrifice that she has made.
A senator representing Illinois with Hawaii ties being considered for the top of the ticket. First, it was Barack Obama. Now it's Senator Tammy Duckworth on the short list to become Vice President Joe Biden's running mate. The Iraq War Purple Heart veteran has a unique background, one that includes partly growing up in Hawaii and going to the University of Hawaii.
People in Hawaii feel a connection to her, even though she represents the people of Illinois.
Hawaii Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, who at one point sought the Democratic nomination and also served in the military, says she is leaving the assessment of potential running mates up to Biden.
Presidential historian Alan Lichtman says Duckworth's distinctive background and her public service credentials are tough to beat.
Military experience, administrative experience, legislative
experience.
Lichtman notes the 52-year-old would be a good complement to Biden, who would be the oldest president to take office if elected. Lichtman says many women have strong claims to be on this ticket, like California Senator Kamala Harris or Florida Congresswoman Val Demings. But he thinks Duckworth would be ready to step into the presidency if necessary. And Lichtman says it helps that she has links across the country, from Illinois to the Aloha State.
I think it would be a boost to the people of Hawaii, at least in terms of morale and spirit, to have Duckworth on the ticket.
We reached out to Duckworth to take part in this piece, but her office declined. It is unclear when exactly Vice President Biden will choose his running mate. In Washington, Peter Zampa, Hawaii News Now.
Very interesting.
School
We'll have to
super-
see how that all shapes up in the coming weeks.
Definitely.
All right, we're going to take you outside real quick. The temperature, I just checked it, 85 degrees.
Woo!
It's now 12:15. Let's turn it over to Guy Hoggy.
Aloha. On this Friday, we've got light variable winds. That means it's going to be hot. It's going to be sticky. Morning sunshine will lead to afternoon cloud buildup. So we might even get a few isolated downpours out there. Widespread rain, however, not in the cards. It's relatively dry out there. Although over the weekend, we have some moisture from what used to be Tropical Storm Christina, and it could bring us a few more windward and Mauka showers. But for today, you can see it's relatively dry out there. But again, we could see some isolated showers late in the day over some interior spots. And still with all the sunshine, though, look at the temperatures, man. 92 expected in Kahului, 90 here in Honolulu. Even though Kailua Kona says 85, it'll likely feel like the 90s because of the high humidity levels there. Now, with the light winds, morning conditions will be nice. We'll get some afternoon sea breezes. The biggest waves are rolling into the east side, although that Christina swell is on the way down. Over the weekend, South Shores are expecting a little bit of a bump, but nothing that big. And the UV index again today is at 13, extreme levels. So we've got light winds today, breezy trade winds coming back tomorrow. And that means humidity levels will be back to normal. But with all the sunshine, temperatures will be climbing into the 90s. Keep it here on Hawaii News Now. We'll have all your severe weather updates.
Bring back those trades
Yes,
sooner.
please.
All right, let's get a check of the feeds. I'll show you what I found on the internet today. I love talking with emojis, so there's a whole new group coming out. Yeah, check them out. These are all going to be available for iPhone users. Apple just announced these. They include a Ninja, Boomerang, Pinata, and Bubble Tea. Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty
I
cute,
might
right?
use the Ninja.
Oh, what are those dolls? And tamale. Very cool. All right, what'd you find? You know I'm thinking food, folks.
Yep, definitely. Yeah. So actor Orlando Bloom went on Instagram because he needs help finding his missing dog. Oh. Mighty went missing in Montecito, California. Bloom said the pup has a microchip and his collar has a phone number on it. And he wrote to please take Mighty to a local vet, shelter, or police station if found so he can be tracked back to Bloom. And he's noted there is a reward involved.
Did he say how much?
Nope, he did not say how much. And check this out, the Chicks have dropped their first new album since dropping the word Dixie from their name.
Oh, yeah.
Their highly anticipated record, Gaslighter, is now out. It's the country music group's first album in nearly 14 years. Now the new album has 17 songs that are mostly about lead singer Natalie Maine's divorce, but it also features the new single called March March. It's a tribute to protests for equality and social issues.
I've heard that song.
Yeah.
I did not realize that was the name of her album.
I know.
Yeah.
And you guys, I'm so sorry, but if you're sick of hearing us talk about those baby lemurs at the Honolulu Zoo, we have another update for you. So earlier this week, local comedian Frank DeLima was at the press conference where they officially announced the names of the twins, Mel and Frank DeLemer. And we asked Frank if he would be willing to write one of his famous jingles for his namesake. Well, Uncle Frank never disappoints.
Oh, I'm proud to be a Madagascar lemur. My twin and me are really fun to see. His name is Mel and mine is Frank the Lemur. We're named after men of comedy. Oh, it's nice to be a Madagascar lemur with big black eyes and full of energy. We have a cute and comical demeanor as we play and jump from tree to tree. Oh, it's fun to be a Madagascar lemur with a showroom at the zoo in Waikiki. A fun-filled day with lots of joy and laughter. I hope you come and visit Mel and me.
Frank, you're a genius.
Jonathan has been singing that in the newsroom all morning.
I still can't get over the mask wearing PSA one or the one he did about social distancing.
Right.
Always stuck in my head. Hey guys, movie theaters are trying to reopen. Casey Lund is here to show us how. Here's some more good news for you.
Yeah, the city and county of Honolulu allowed theaters to reopen on June 19th, but a lot of companies, Consolidated Theaters included, decided they wanted to hold off and make sure they were ready to welcome folks back into their facilities. I want to talk a little bit more about that private screening experience with Kyler Kokobun from Consolidated Theaters. Kyle, tell me a little bit about how this is going to work. How many people can you get in a group here?
So for our screenings that we're going to be offering, it's going to be 30 people or less.
And what's the price point for that?
So it's going to be $250 plus a concession package.
And when you think about it and you break down the cost per person, if you get that many people, that's actually a pretty good deal. I do want to talk a little bit about what's behind us here, the Super Mario World playing. You could bring your own game console. Tell me about the gaming experience.
So so that's going to be offered for groups of 10 or less. And then what we're asking is that people bring in their own consoles, their own games, and if they need internet, their own wireless hotspots, and then they can play whatever game they would like on a big screen.
And then what's different? We have some of the concession options kind of set up here for display. Tell me a little bit about what's kind of changed, what people should know about the concessions that you're offering.
So we're requiring both packages to have a concession package attached, and then that will be ready for pre-ordered and ready for you in the auditorium when you enter. But we'll also have some, if you want to order through your event, we're going to have an attendant that will be checking on you periodically that will be able to give you your concession right in the auditorium.
And then I know a lot of new content really isn't coming into the box offices right now. It's pretty much everything seems to be shut down, especially in Hollywood. Why don't you talk a little bit about what you guys are offering? You have a pretty big catalog of movies to choose from, a little something for everybody.
Yeah, I think we kind of did a lot of the favorites from years past. So we have like Jurassic Park, we have Harry Potter, we have even some anime titles on there. So really we kind of curated a good selection for everyone, I think.
And then break down really quickly, this is just kind of opening up to a few locations. Can you tell me what locations those are and how people can book those experiences?
Yeah, so currently we are hosting these at Mililani, Olino, and at Ward. And then you can book them at consolidatedtheatersblog.com/VIP for the screenings or /gaming for the gaming events.
Very good. And then lastly, before we go, I just want to talk really quickly about what folks should expect as far as mask rules go, and you have hand sanitizer when they come into the theater.
Yeah, definitely. We are asking all the guests within the facility to wear their mask unless they're seated in their seats consuming food. And then we're also asking, the larger parties for separate households to be social distance and have like 2 seats in between each of the groups.
Very good. Kyler Kokobun, thank you for showing us around today. Again, it's consolidatedtheatersblog.com/VIP for those private screenings. You could start booking those technically beginning yesterday for reservations next week. I'm Casey Lund at Consolidated Theaters Ward location for This Is Now.
Thank you, Casey.
What a great idea.
Yeah, what a great gig this morning, too. It looked fun.
Absolutely. And what I love about those movie theater shoots is the reporters always come back with this huge bag of popcorn.
I heard it's good lemur treats.
This is mine. Yours is in the newsroom. Anyway, you guys, before the day is over, we want to tell you about Captain Tom. Remember him? He's the British World War II veteran who raised $40 million for the National Health Service by walking around his garden. Well, he's been knighted by Queen Elizabeth. The Queen made her first public appearance in months for this special occasion. Captain Tom Moore did the walk challenge for his 100th birthday, and ahead of the event, he was absolutely overwhelmed about meeting the Queen and worried that if he knelt down, he might never get up again.
He's so adorable. That's a great picture there. You guys, that's it for This Is Now on this TGIF. Happy Aloha Friday, everyone.